What's up everyone, it's Endymion, and by God the Unity situation has gone from nuclear to Super Saiyan in the last week. Somehow, what was once a friendly engine used to make games has quickly become an evil bastardization of its former self. The villain behind these machinations is John Riccitiello, a guy who was so greedy that even Electronic Arts gave him the boot. You know how bad that is? That's like the orcs in Mordor looking at Sauron and going, wow, this guy is evil, like even for us this is too much. So Riccitiello, freshly kicked to the curb with nothing but his inflated ego, looked around for his next target to siphon of all credibility and goodwill. And alas, somehow Riccitiello became the head of Unity. Maybe he knows where bodies are buried, maybe he's keeping the other Unity board members' families hostage in order to stay in power, who knows? But what we do know is that his controversial decision to turn Unity into a supervillain company has worked since everyone hates them now. And when the backlash gets this bad, the ramifications are bound to be awful too. As you watch, you'll see how Unity is now being targeted by not only game devs, but entire established bodies making up some of the most powerful in the space. This is crazy, so let's begin. Firstly, Unity has just released an open letter to the gaming community, so let's read what that has to say, and I quote, "To our community, I'm Marc Whitten, and I lead Unity Create, which includes the Unity game engine and editor teams. I want to start with simply this: I am sorry.
We're sorry.
We should have spoken with more of you, and we should have incorporated more of your feedback before announcing our new runtime fee policy. Our goal with this policy is to ensure we can continue to support you today and tomorrow and keep deeply investing in our game engine. You are what makes Unity great, and we know we need to listen and work hard to earn your trust. We have heard your concerns, and we are making changes in the policy we announced to address them. Our Unity personal plan will remain free, and there will be no runtime fee for games built on Unity Personal. We will be increasing the cap from $100,000 to $200,000, and we will remove the requirement to use the Made with Unity splash screen. No game with less than $1 million in trailing 12-month revenue will be subject to the fee. For those creators on Unity Pro and Unity Enterprise, we are also making changes based on your feedback. The runtime fee policy will only apply beginning with the next version of Unity shipping in 2024 and beyond. Your games that are currently shipped and the projects you are currently working on will not be included unless you choose to upgrade them to this new version of Unity. We will make sure that you can stay on the terms applicable for the version of Unity editor you are using as long as you keep using that version. For games that are subject to the runtime fee, we are giving you a choice of either a 2.5% revenue share or the calculated amount based on the number of new people engaging with your game each month. Both of these numbers are self-reported from data you already have available. You will always be billed the lesser amount. We want to continue to build the best engine for creators. We truly love this industry and you are the reason why." End quote. Alright, so let's try to decipher exactly what Unity is trying to impose here piece by piece. Firstly, they say the runtime fee only applies to games being created with this new version of Unity coming in 2024. So any game right now being made on Unity will not be affected by these changes. And if I'm reading this correctly, this also means any game that's already released using Unity will not have these fees applied to them retroactively. So stuff like Cult of the Lamb or Hollow Knight will not retroactively be billed for every download. But any game made with this new version of Unity will have all of these annoying controversial changes applied to them. So if you use Unity Personal, you're fine. You won't be billed or strong-armed. However, if you actually go look at the Unity plans for each tier, you can see that Unity Personal doesn't even allow you to port what you've made to consoles anyway. You also don't have access to the Havok's physics engine either, or things like source code access. You also don't have access to technical support, nor do you even have access to training or even being considered for queues for help either. So sure, Unity Personal is free of all of these fees and whatever, but of course it is. It's the basic starter pack of the versions. As you can see here, the more advanced versions like Pro, Enterprise, and the final tier Industry have access to all of these changes. And from what I gather from how Marc Whitten worded the open letter to the community, these other tiers, which let's be real are far more used by actual professional game developers, will not be free of these controversial changes. And of course, this does mean future games that require to stay up to date with current technologies, which is what the newest version of Unity is being made for, are essentially screwed. So while this may seem like a win for players and game developers, it's kind of only a temporary one if you think about it long enough. Since, sure, the stuff we already have will be free of this nonsense to an extent. But eventually, as time passes and games demand more stuff in order to work, like increased particle effects, load times, tools available, etc., those new brand spanking assets will be tied behind this very predatory and very anti-developer paywall. So Unity is basically talking out of both sides of their mouths with this. They're giving people what they want, but they're also setting up thousands of traps for the future to ensure that whether they appease you now really doesn't matter anyway. Because eventually, no matter what happens as times, games, and engines move on, all of these devs will have to eventually bend the knee and succumb to Unity's demands anyways. It would be like if Sauron told his orcs, hey guys, you did well today and you all deserve a day of rest. But come tomorrow, you're all gonna die horribly anyway. Bloody hell. This is a masterstroke of an open letter too, as it's designed to appease people with selective corporate speak, while keeping one hand behind the back that's actually still holding all the cards. So basically, if you were to sum up Unity's latest letter to the public, it's literally that meme that says, well yes, but actually no. They are still going to screw you over and will still ruin gaming in the future. They're just pissing on all of us from the other side of the fence and tricking you into believing it's raining. Thankfully, others are seeing this for what it is, like the devs behind Terraria. Relogic doesn't even use Unity, but they're leading by donating money to Unity competitors to ensure these alternatives stay developer friendly. Here's Terraria's developer Relogic with their GigaChat-based take, and I quote, "The team at Relogic has been watching the recent events surrounding Unity with both interest and sadness. The loss of a formerly leading and user-friendly game engine to the darker forces that negatively impact so much of the gaming industry has left us dismayed, to put it mildly. While we do not personally use Unity outside of a few elements on our console mobile platforms, we feel like we cannot sit idly by as these predatory moves are made against studios everywhere. We unequivocally condemn and reject the recent terms of service fee changes proposed by Unity and the underhanded way they were rolled out. The flippant manner with which years of trust cultivated by Unity were cast aside for yet another way to squeeze publisher studios and gamers is the saddest part. That this move was wholly unnecessary pushes things into the tragedy category, a cautionary tale the industry will not soon forget. We do not feel that a simple public statement is sufficient. Even if Unity were to recant their policies and statements, the destruction of trust is not so easily repaired. We strongly feel that it is now equally important to get behind some of the other up-and-coming open source game engines, lighting some candles in an otherwise dark moment. To that end, we are donating $100,000 to each of the open source engines listed below. Additionally, we are sponsoring each of these projects with $1,000 a month each moving forward. All we ask in return is that they remain good people and keep doing all that they can to make these engines powerful and approachable for developers everywhere. Relogic has always been supportive of game developers and indie studios that do things the right way. We feel that our actions in this moment are the best way to carry that mission forward. By accelerating and strengthening competing open source game engines, we hope to empower and assist studios that are struggling with how best to proceed given these recent events." End quote. And what Relogic is doing here is what needs to happen, because once a company shows you their private parts like this, you simply can't trust them ever again. No amount of goodwill or open letters will change the fact that companies like Unity truly do believe they have the right to cuck everyone if they want to. To believe or invest in the Unity engine at this point would be akin to building your dream home on sinking sand and landmines. It's pointless. Which is why many are now supporting other game engines like Godot and others like GameMaker. Because whether we want to admit it or not, what Unity is doing here will ultimately result in a situation where they will siphon everything they licensed, and this can and will become the norm if we allow it to. However, across the pond we have the European Game Federation, who according to their website, represents 23 national trade associations representing game developer studios based in 22 European countries, and speaks for around 40,000 game developers. So why are they here, you ask? Well, since Unity went ahead and decided to play stupid games, they're now winning their big stupid prizes. The European Dev Federation are now seeking their governments to update their regulatory framework to curb what they see as a looming market failure caused by potentially anti-competitive market behavior. The EGDF actually released their own open letter to the games industry too, where they explain how Unity's anti-everybody behavior threatens the integrity and lifeblood of over 750,000 video games and thousands of game developers. The EGDF also shows concern that Unity is one of the most widely used engines when it comes to educational-based media as well, and the pricing model will cause a mass exodus, as the EGDF puts it, and will completely upend entire professional curriculums that are devoted to helping new devs understand how games are made. There's some really eye-opening stuff in this letter that the EGDF wrote too, like how according to Unity themselves, around 63% of all games are made with the Unity engine, and the top 70% of mobile games use Unity as well. And the European Game Dev letter also echoes what I've been saying, is that this change will strong arm and take advantage of devs who are too small to fight back. But the most damning of this is how the EGDF plainly states that what Unity is doing allows them to grab everyone by the balls while expecting us to like it. The EGDF continues to say, the group takes a special exception to Unity's history of bundling its game engine with services like analytics, in-game chat, ad networks, and mediation tools, user acquisition tools, and more. That kind of bundling creates a significant vendor lock risk for game developers using Unity services, which also makes it difficult for many game middleware developers to compete against Unity. Because of things like this, many devs who use Unity are opting to turn off all monetization attached to their projects that use the engine. So while Unity is trying to strangle everybody into submitting to them, the devs are pushing back by turning off the money flow in order to hurt Unity enough into turning back to their previous not greedy selves. This is crazy, dude, and this is why I'm so wary of megacorpos owning and running everything. Like, I hope it doesn't happen, but just imagine if Epic Games did this with Unreal Engine. You'd have games like the Final Fantasy VII remakes and more all having to pay fees for installs too. Now, if that were to happen, we'd be in it for a light show, my friends. But there's honestly nothing stopping Epic from doing what Unity does, besides of course gaining bad will from customers and devs. But it's scary to realize that if Epic wanted to, they could just do what Unity's doing. And at that point, this install fee nonsense could affect close to 100% of all games being made, basically. Now that's a messed up future I hope never comes to pass. And this stupid nickel and diming isn't even unique to Unity, since Amazon is also going to start placing ads into Amazon Prime even if you pay for the subscription. But of course, those ads will disappear if you pay just a little bit more. I swear, all of these companies are just trying to find every way imaginable to siphon, monetize, and drain your wallet of everything you have these days. And big surprise, due to these new policies, recently Unity stock has dropped another 12% into the gutter. But this drop still won't stop Riccatello and his band of greedy yes-men from pushing this reality into existence. If the combined voices of the entire game developer industry and the people who play the games they make won't stop Unity, honestly, what will? It seems like they're hell-bent on making this policy a reality regardless of the damage that it does. And that's what should concern you, since if Backlash turning off monetization sources and banding together to oppose this doesn't make this company change their tune, then the only logical next step would be to hit Unity where they will feel it, which is of course their wallets. And by everyone collectively abandoning Unity outright, all of the game's community can send a strong message to those who try to take advantage of us. Sure, we will probably lose Unity forever by doing this, but if that's the price to pay for the integrity of gaming and the connection of trust between developer and customer, I think it's a worthwhile trade. There will be hiccups, headaches, and lots of learning to do, and this will probably delay games even further. I'm looking at you, Silksong, sorry Hollow Knight fans. But this needs to happen, otherwise things can and will get much worse if we don't stand up to this. Again, I don't care what you play games on. If you love gaming, you must simply oppose this and stand with the devs who make the experiences you love. PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo, hell, even if you use that god-awful Stadia for like 5 minutes, this affects you too. This cannot stand, and I implore you to always look beyond what these corporations say. Cause if you took what Unity said here at face value, you'd think we had won the fight. But my friends, this war has just begun. So thank you for watching, subscribe for more in the future, and like the video to help the channel out. Have a great day, always look deeper, and I'll see you in the next one.